As Donald Trump's approval is plummeting, former Trump voters are speaking out right now against his heinous policies. We're seeing his approval on the economy absolutely tank. It's his lowest levels, frankly, ever, including the first Trump administration. And we're getting lots of comments like this. So now Musk and Trump are planning to dissolve Social Security and Medicare. I did not vote for that. Here are some comments from the Fox News audience post. Trump's chaos is tanking the markets and inflation isn't reversing. Trump's own DJT stock and cryptocurrency are dropping dramatically. When he complains about the current trade relations with Canada and Mexico, keep in mind, it's his deal that he's complaining about. These are posts, folks, from the Fox message boards. Someone posts, we're already in a recession. The stock market's dropped like 2,000 points in the first month of the Trump presidency. I voted for Trump. I'm a Trump supporter, but what he's doing right now is the wrong time to do it. Here, someone posted the following. Yo, tell me why my neighbor confessed and said, quote, my dumbass voted for Trump, but now he's trying to take my job. Her reason, immigrants. I asked her how immigrants affected her. She had no idea, honestly. Typical red state. The good news is she said next time she'll vote who I vote for. Here's another Trump voter. WTF, I voted for Trump. This is not okay. You said you would support the VA and help all veterans. And this individual is responding to Trump's plans to fire over 70,000 employees at the VA. And as the markets were tanking, what was Donald Trump doing? He was selling Teslas yesterday with Elon Musk selling Teslas. And then what does the speaker, Mike Johnson, have to say? Here's what Mike Johnson said about all of this. Play this clip.
Seen this movie before. George Soros funded groups and others literally pay protesters, and
he's saying George Soros is sending paid protesters, and that's why people are upset. What's going on? We got to bring in Democratic leader, Congressmember Hakeem Jeffries. Congressmember Jeffries, what's going on? Are you seeing shifts in the country right now, and what are the Democrats doing?
Well, great to be with you, Ben. Our theory of the case from the very beginning is that we've got to make sure Trump's biggest strength as of January 20th, which was the economy, turned into his greatest weakness, because we knew from the very beginning that Donald Trump had no intention of trying to lower the high cost of living in the United States of America. He promised that costs were going to drop on day one. But we know, of course, that costs aren't going down. They're going up. Grocery prices are going up. Inflation is going up. What's going down are the retirement savings of the American people, because Trump is plummeting the stock market and crashing the economy in real time. And we're going to stay on this issue.
Look, staying on that issue also is the fact that the Republicans passed this CR yesterday that, is absolutely devastating. In addition to, I think, not really being a CR in the sense that it ain't clean. And it has, all of these cuts. It kind of doesn't it provide, I guess, a blank reverse check for Elon Musk to just continue to gut everything. How devastating is this CR? People hear the word CR, continuing resolution. It's wonky. What does it mean, though, to the American people?
House Democrats were strongly opposed on the floor to this partisan Republican Trump, Musk, Johnson spending bill because it's an attack on families, an attack on seniors, an attack on veterans. It would cut veterans benefits, cut nutritional assistance, cut health care programs, cut investments in cancer research, cut investments in Alzheimer's, and just be devastating to people all across the country. And so the consequences of the extreme MAGA Republican ideology are being unleashed on the American people in real time. I gave 5 reasons when I talked to the caucus yesterday about why we should oppose this partisan spending bill. And one of those reasons is the fact that this bill would give Elon Musk a blank check in terms of trying to continue the process of unraveling the federal government as we know it in ways that are going to hurt the American people.
Yeah, blank check or blank shredder. I mean, he's put the entire government through a shredder and seems to be targeting the most vulnerable. I mean, you saw one of those comments that I played at the outset of this attack on veterans. It seems to be over and over again, disproportionately attacking veterans and other kind of vulnerable groups. What are you hearing from the other members of the Democratic caucus? And what are you hearing just in general from your constituents about, attacks on veterans, attack on the Social Security Administration, attack on people on Medicaid?
Well, the fundamental scheme that is underway in terms of what we're seeing from Republicans is that they want to take a chainsaw to Social Security, a chainsaw to Medicare, as Elon Musk recently confirmed, and a chainsaw to Medicaid, where they are trying to set in motion the largest cut to Medicaid in American history. Every single Democrat in the House voted against that budget resolution, and we're going to continue to stand strong against it. But they are unraveling these incredibly important priorities for everyday Americans because they want to provide a massive tax cut to their billionaire donors and puppet masters like Elon Musk. That's what the Republicans are all about at the end of the day. We saw this same playbook repeatedly during the Reagan presidency, during the presidency of George W. Bush, during the presidency of Donald Trump the first time around. And now he's running the same playbook as it relates to the GOP tax scam. And so we're going to push back strongly against it and make sure that these House Republicans all across the country are held accountable. That's the reason why they are running scared, but they can run from their extreme.
White 1. Stay informed, not overwhelmed. Follow credible, nonpartisan news sources to track policies while avoiding sensationalism. Fact-check claims to combat misinformation. 2. Strengthen community ties to build local networks for mutual aid, food shares, childcare, to counter instability. Solidarity fosters resilience. 3. Protect civil liberties. Know your rights during protests or encounters with authorities. Support organizations like ACLU fighting legal battles. 4. Safeguard finances. Prepare for economic shifts.
Extremism. They can try not to hold town hall meetings. We're going to make sure they cannot hide from their reckless record.
Talk about that plan. I showed you that clip of their latest conspiracy is that all of their own constituents, even in ruby red areas, are actually secret agents of George Soros and deep state actors. And that's why they're getting booed at the town halls. So they're shutting down their town halls. There's never a conspiracy too idiotic for these MAGA Republicans, at least in my view. So what are Democrats going to do? Are Democrats going to be, are Democratic members of Congress going into those reddish states the same way we're seeing like Senator Sanders speak in Kenosha and Warren, Michigan, and Altoona? Are we going to see Democratic Congress members kind of going in there and speaking to people's angst and meeting that moment?
Absolutely. I just had this conversation with several members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, and we all recognize it's an all hands on deck effort. We have to, of course, communicate with our constituents. And next week, we will be having a National Day of Action on Medicaid, where we are encouraging every single member to hold a town hall meeting or an in-person event, a press conference, visit a hospital, visit a nursing home, visit a community health center, and lift up the fact that we are defending Medicaid, this critically important healthcare program for tens of millions of Americans, approximately 90 million Americans all across the country. And Republicans are trying to end Medicaid as we know it, which will be devastating for children, for pregnant women, for people with disabilities, for seniors. And of course, the Republican Medicaid cuts are going to close your hospital in urban America or in rural America or in small town America. And certainly nursing homes are going to close all across the country. We're going to continue to lift this up. both as it relates to what we do next week with this Medicaid Day of Action, but every week, every month, this year, next year, until we get this national nightmare ended and we can turn this thing around for the American people.
You know, when I hear from our viewers and they say, look, we understand that Democrats don't control the House, they don't control the Senate. So there are necessarily limitations. You can't subpoena, you can't dictate what the committees are going to be focused on. But when they talk about fighting, I think that they mean they want to see Democrats as much as possible. As you mentioned, Democrats have their own constituents. They have to focus also on their own constituents. But they just want to see people, as those MAGA Republicans run away and hide. I think they want to see a coordinated effort to see Democrats go into those areas. And I think they want to hear Democrats listen to people's stories too. Tell us what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. Explain to us what you're going through with these Medicaid cuts, and share those stories. So in addition to the day of kind of focusing on the Medicaid cuts, you know, is that the beginning? And there's kind of a broader, like, what else are we expecting to see with, you know, that's critical, of course, but is there going to be, you know, other kind of, you know, going into red states, or what does that plan look like?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Ben. And we launched our first hearing last week. It was a steering and policy hearing convened by Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Congresswoman Robin Kelly, and Congresswoman Nanette Barragán. That was on the Hill, lifting up the stories of everyday Americans who will be impacted by these Medicaid cuts. The week after next, when we're back on the Hill, we're going to have another hearing that will feature everyday Americans who can tell their stories related to nutritional assistance and how the cuts will impact their ability to put food on the table for their children or for their elderly parents. But the Steering and Policy Committee, to your point and question, is also going to be hitting the road in blue states, purple states, and red states, so we can hear from everyday Americans across the country about how they are struggling to make ends meet, how they are struggling to live paycheck to paycheck, which should not be the case. This is the wealthiest country in the history of the world. We have to build an affordable economy where everyone, when you work hard and play by the rules, can provide a comfortable living for yourself and for your family. That is the democratic objective as it relates to the type of country we should be living in. Donald Trump is actually taking things in the other direction. He's crashing the economy in real time and leading us to a Republican recession in all likelihood, and that will be devastating.
Yeah, people are calling it already the Trump recession or the Trump economic downturn. Just finally, Leader Jeffries, what's your message just in general to the American people, whether they're Democrats, independents, Republicans, people who never paid attention to politics until politics certainly paid attention to them now? They're seeing it in their 401ks. What's your message right now, where we are March 12th as we're recording this?
We understand that people are anxious, scared, concerned, upset at the state of affairs as a result of the flooding of the zone and the unleashing of this extremism from the Trump administration and the failure of House Republicans or Senate Republicans to actually serve as a check and balance on an out of control executive branch. We hear you, we see you, but most importantly, we are committed to making life better for you. We're going to turn this national nightmare around and make sure we can bring the American dream to life for every single person in this great country.
Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Everybody hit subscribe. Let's get to 5